Hey guys, so after a couple of days of planning builds and not knowing what to play, I finally gave up and just decided to do Divine Ire Totems because that was actually my League Start idea. It just sounded fun, but of course this isn't a League Start, so I had a bit more currency to invest and make it more viable and have more damage. This build is actually very cheap and was able to defeat Sirus and farm tier 16 maps very easily. And it's actually very satisfying and pretty simple. It does look like it's a bit squishy, but it's also easy to just not get hit because it freezes enemies, it also taunts enemies, it hinders them, and also does big damage. But you do need certain amount of investment into this build, into cast speed to make it feel good, because if you don't have enough cast speed, it's not gonna feel great. You're gonna place the totem, it's gonna start channeling slowly, and like 2-3 seconds later it's gonna do a big beam. So you definitely want enough cast speed so that you would not need to wait 2 or 3 seconds every time you place a totem. So the gimmick of this build, this is Hierophant, but I am using two unique jewels, Forbidden Flame and Forbidden Flesh, for Inquisitor's Ignore a Resistance node. And these two jewels combined is like around 1 exalt combined for 2 jewels. So it's surprisingly cheap. Another gimmick is I am using Coward's Legacy. This is to kind of fake low life, and I am cursed with vulnerability, but however I am also using Viridi's Veil, which is also super cheap. The Coward's Legacy is around 60-80 years, so it's not expensive. Viridi's Veil is like 5 years, so super cheap. Viridi's Veil, once you have a magic ring in your right slot, you are unaffected by curses. You are still cursed, but you are unaffected by curses. And you probably see where I'm going with this. This is with the Self-Flagellation jewel, which gives damage per curse on you, and also Soul Mantle, which is essentially a 7 link. And I bought the corrupted one for 30 years. So 6 link for 30 years, that's a good deal. And you only need 2 of colors. The next kind of bigger item I would say is Mark of the Shaper. You want good roll for increased spell damage if your other ring is Elder. And you can catalyst this with caster modifiers, and I got 93% increased spell damage if my other ring is Elder. So for the other ring, which has to be magic, you just buy, let's say if you want the most damage, you just get Opal ring, which is Elder's, Essence Craft to get crit multiplier, or just, I actually got very lucky, I used 1 transmute and I got tier 1 crit multiplier, and just crafted life, and good, that's it, that's all you need. The gloves were a bit trickier. I need full conversion, or well, should I say, I did not want to use physical to lighting support gem, however in the end I still end up using it, but I wanted more conversion into cold to be able to freeze enemies, which adds extra defensive layer, and slows enemies down with chills if it doesn't freeze, slows enemies down, giving me more time to react. So the gloves do not necessarily need to be with the unveiled physical damage conversion to cold. You can just benchcraft like 25% should be enough, but you do want implicit hinder enemies with spell hits and unnerve. Hinder is just like a quality of life. Hinder enemies move slower, and unnerve obviously just gives increased damage. The single most expensive item probably was the wand. I paid 2 exalts. You basically just need like spell damage, flat lighting damage to spells, or cold damage to spells could also work, +1 to lighting spell skill gems, because Divine Ire is lighting and physical, so it could be either +1 physical or +1 lighting, or I guess +1 to all, but +1 to all is the most expensive. And then you want, as always, as much cast speed as possible and crit multiplier. There's a bit of flexibility on wands, but you definitely want cast speed on everything that you can get. The amulet, I bought the fractured +1 lighting for like 60 years, I believe, and then crafted until I got lucky and I hit crit multiplier, cast speed, and crafted life. The shield is also pretty cheap. You just need a recover life on block and +1 to maximum totems and ability to craft life. So this could also be like 40 years, 60 years. So when you combine everything, it's around 5 exalts. For 5 exalts builds, I think this is a really good value. Your totems, like I said, also taunt enemies. This is from the totem mastery somewhere. Yeah, you taunt enemies. Your totems kind of absorb 5% of the damage you take. And the totems are not the tankiest if you like juice up maps like really hard. and totems start getting hit before we can hit enemies with the big laser, because the small arcs, we don't really do very much damage. We barely even are able to apply stronger chills or shocks. So the big laser is the one that does a lot of damage. The big laser should be hitting for over 1 million average hit damage. I'm not sure what's up with the path of building, but my cast rate is actually 11. Once I place the totem, it's almost 11 casts per second, but in PUB it shows below 7 cast rate, so I'm not sure about that. I also did not enable a couple of things. Like for the bone chill, I am using a couple of things on casting damage taken, and I actually had quite a lot of empty sockets, so I didn't know what to fill them. I didn't want to fill them everything with casting damage taken, because that just drains mana. So I have like steel skin on left click. I also have enduring cry with urgent orders and increased duration, just like a panic heal button, but I barely ever use it. If I run out of life last, then I basically use it, because I don't necessarily want to taunt enemies. I do have casting damage taken, frost shield with bone chill. It does help a bit, and it also gives you crit chance if you are inside it while draining your energy shield. I believe I was shocking Sirus for 40, up to over 40%. So this is also with only 10% shock. You also, as a Hierophant, you also have 4 minimum and maximum power and endurance charges, so you always permanently have those. I feel like I'm missing something, but I cannot remember what now. Oh yeah, I did forget to mention, I am using Divergent Divine Ire. Divergent gives extra 20% physical damage converted into cold, because Divine Ire by default only converts 50% of physical into lighting. It doesn't matter which element actually, you can even have flat fire damage to spells, because you have the Inquisitor's Ignore Resistances with crits node. All the elements benefit equally essentially. Oh, one thing that I forgot. I did plan on using Concentrated Effect, but here's the thing. Concentrated Effect doesn't affect the arcs, because the arcs are not AoE. We don't scale with area damage. The arcs are only created in the AoE, so Conc Effect shrinks down the AoE of where the arcs appear, but we don't increase the damage. So you would lower your damage for clear speed wise, but it would increase the damage of the beam. The beam does get affected by Concentrated Effect. But in the end, I decided to still continue using Feast Lighting support. It essentially allows you to shock for more, because you have more lighting damage when cold. But if you want, I guess, more defensive layer, you could focus more on converting into cold damage. I do not use any Watcher size. Alright, for the medium jewels, I have only one medium jewel and one small cluster jewel. So for the medium cluster jewel, you want Sleepless Sentries to get Onslaught for yourself, and to get Ancestral Echo, which is cast speed. As soon as you place totem, you get Onslaught and you get more cast speed, which is great. Smoothness and ramp up stage. The totems ramp up stages quicker and reach the maximum stage, which is when they do the beam. And I think you definitely want Fatal Small Cluster Jewel, because that gives the most life. And other than that, I will leave path of building import code in video description as always. I am personally not a big fan of totems, but if you like totems, I would definitely recommend this build. It felt really good for mapping. Can handle pretty much everything. There are some cases where totems start dying, because I only have these totem defensive nodes, a bit of life, and then physical mitigation and LA mitigation. But if you do big damage and you freeze enemies, you shock them, you hinder, you taunt them, it seems alright. There were a couple of cases in Harvest. It just gets overwhelmed with like crazy rare monsters, and totems just get destroyed instantly. You could kind of split up totems, like place in one side and another side, so enemies focus on one totems, while the other ones get fully charged up and do the beam and destroy enemies. That's pretty much it for this build. Now actually I do have the next build already planned up. I found this cloak of totems. Oh my god, the pronunciation of this. I found this cloak from Heist, and I thought that it's 1 Hierophant, but turns out it's 20 exalts and the price is rising. And the reason for that is Baller Mage. You know how recombinators are very popular right now to try to combine into crazy items. You want like plus levels on the amulets, weapons you want like plus levels, and like spell damage, stuff like that. The problem is that items drop unidentified, and unidentified items cannot be filtered by loot filter, so it just hides all the trash to save you time. However, with this body armor, the magic items are gonna be identified, and the loot filter will see the modifiers, and it, instead of hiding all the junk, it's also gonna show the items that eventually gonna have those modifiers that are really wanted by the community to combine, to use the recombinators to combine into some crazy items. So this is why this cloak is expensive, and right now the prices change very quickly, and there aren't that many actually on the market. There are only 15 on the market right now, and the cheapest one is 20x golds. I was gonna sell it for 20x, but then I decided, you know what, I'm gonna let the game decide. If I manage to 6-link it, I will do a build with it. And I 6-linked it in less than 200 fusing, so now I have to do a build with it. I never did a proper farming build, so it's gonna be interesting for me to experience it, and I don't know how to how to evaluate the farming builds. It's gonna have low HP, it's gonna have low damage, but I should be able to farm maybe up to retail maps. Hopefully, I decided Spectral Shield Throw maybe good enough, and we'll see if I can make some currency. Is it worth 20 exalts for this item? I'm pretty sure that it is worth 20 exalts for this item because you can make a lot of currency because of how much in demand those items are. So yeah, we'll see. I don't want to talk too much before I start making the build. So for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.